Hello, and welcome to the interview for the winners of Week 3 in the Conqueror League. Um, it's been a bit of a ride to get there in the games, but we'll get a chance to actually talk about that relatively soon. Introducing myself here, I'm Luke, and head of production here over at Titan Esports, and I've got with me today Argo and Tofu. If you guys want to just give clarity to who you guys are right now, just in here in the ethereal space, because you guys don't have webcams.
Howdy, I'm Argo. I'm the mid laner for DZG Tartarus.
Hi, I'm Taco, and I'm the top laner for DZG. Yeah.
So Taco, I guess we should change your name, but this is Tofu. He's lying. He's a liar. That's why he was
Sorry,
benched this
multiple
week,
IGNs getting mixed
because
up.
he's not an honest boy, but he wants to be a real boy on the real roster that is going to be fielded, but he just wasn't, So, and that's actually one of the things that I want to like lead into, and I want to talk about it later, but we should probably establish that Argo is the mid laner here, who actually played in this past week, and Tofu was on the bench. You guys have any comments on that?
Unfortunately, work schedule, I couldn't play during that day. So we had to find someone that was willing to sub in, and that's for us. It
And
was very unfortunate because that's also the day where we got our first win.
it's like I hope it's not like a wild turtle kind of situation, like
Oh God!
just that would be a little awkward to kind of pop in as the situation for you guys.
That's fine. Awkward's in part of my name.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair. I kind of want to ask though how that game went, because we actually get to have the inside perspective and the outside perspective on it. Because while you guys did earn your first win, which actually, like, you guys are, for lack of a better wording, you're at the bottom of the barrel. In Group B, you're at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
You guys, but you aren't quite at the bottom of the barrel, because you guys beat out against what would have kept you guys there. And now you guys are sitting in 7th in Group B. And with that like match leading into it too, you guys were just duking it out to make sure that you guys still have this chance in the standings. I mean, like, where you guys are at, like being week 3 and getting the scoring that you have right now, you still have the potential to just get it back in, especially considering that from what I'm able to see, you guys are sitting at one of the higher amount of games played within this area here too. So you guys have gained more experience just in that game time. What do you guys think from the outside and the inside portion has been keeping you guys lower or not allowing you guys to succeed as much as you guys wanted to? And how do you think you have changed in a way that led to your victory actually this week, outside of the fact that you benched Tofu?
Well, honestly, that's a pretty easy question to answer. This roster was started with some off-role players.
Okay.
We had an off-role jungler and an off-role support. Um, I don't know. I mean, anyone who's been in the league for a while probably knows Paneer, the guy who's playing jungle for us this week. He was our support up until this week.
Okay.
But he's been an ADC in the scene for about as long as anyone can remember. Still an ADC. Our coach had big dreams that, you know, didn't really pan out.
Wasn't able to kind of like transition over to the mode, and I guess it just hasn't worked
No.
out for you guys so far.
No.
Then it makes sense. It's really hard to
Absolutely not.
shift over in positions, especially at like this level
Yeah.
in the game. It's
Yeah.
it's not the easiest thing to do, and if you do it, it takes time, right? So
It was a lot of pressure to put on Paneer. Like, I'm not going to say anything bad about Paneer. He's a fantastic ADC player, but it's just kind of put into a position
yeah.
that
Off
wasn't too
roles
easy.
is one thing, but it's also the fact that we have players shifting around. Like, some players they say they don't want to play this season, so we had to immediately start looking for subs. So we don't really have a we have a bunch of subs in our team, but we don't have like a finalized starting players for a role. So that is kind of affecting us, especially during week 1 when we're just like we were told about like, oh, one of our starting players no longer starting, he's moving to sub position because of situations and we're just
got
like
you. Yeah,
completely
so
confused.
you guys
Like,
don't even have like your actual roster set up. So you guys are still figuring out how
We-
everything's going to work, even in the dynamics of the team.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, yeah, that's
Still
a
need to
very
lock in
difficult thing to
jungle.
do, even at that point, right? Because especially when you're bringing in people right as the season's starting, means you don't really have any practice together. So you guys are kind of developing it as it goes along, and that can definitely be a challenge. And I mean, it shows even as the standings, but it has at least gotten you guys to a victory now. Although it was scrappy, it was very scrappy leading to that point. I'm sure you guys cannot deny that, even that last game, which we'll get to that at a certain point. Um, but if that is the case and where you guys are right now, I guess my question with it would be, how have you guys started to figure out like your rhythm within the team? Have you guys even figured it out with how that's going to be working? And do you feel like you're getting to a point where you're getting more comfortable in how you can play, or what the proper way that you guys can play together is right now? It's
I think we're still getting there. We're lacking a really strong shot caller, which, since we don't have a
Yeah.
starting jungler, that's usually where that's going to come from. So any junglers that are listening to this and don't have a team, I know a team that's looking for one. So
well, listen, any junglers that want to pop in, I want to bench Paneer. Like, let's be honest. Like, just like immediately.
okay, he's still a sub. He still does not want. He wants to be an ADC.
Fair, that's
he
fair.
just stepped up for us this week, and filled the role and did it well. Honestly.
yeah. Honestly, thanks for Paneer for actually coming and help us because like we couldn't find another jungler that's we had some trials but we didn't have another jungler yet that fits our team, so we're still currently looking for jungler. And honestly, I think that once we could get our starting players, we could start ramp up and actually do well in this.
Well, that's like a bold statement to make as well too. But at the same time, like coming off of the victory in this one too, I think it's not quite unreasonable, especially when you're talking about having like that out of position player and still getting to the victory. And it was definitely a team effort to get there, but it was also a team effort that you guys put yourself in that position. So it'll definitely be something once you guys do find some that way that you can put together a shot calling structure. And that is one of the harder things to actually do in the amateur scene, is being able to put everything onto the plate of somebody and trust that they're going to make the right decisions and follow them, which is generally the case. And you kind of need to have that confidence behind the plays and the following up, and not having that it can definitely be detrimental. From the sounds of it, and once again, I don't have too much insight into how the team's operated even beforehand and whatever iterations, but it does sound like you have worked together before, at the very least, or to some degree with this org. And I'm curious to know what you might be trying to do to emulate any success that you had in the past, or where are your influences coming from to look towards building up where you're at with the team right now.
Well, yeah. So I've been with York for about 2 years, on and off. I do still have a lot of trust in Trajan, our coach. I've done relatively well with him, both in plat and gold leagues, filling in for in the past when I started out with him in gold. But yeah, right now that's kind of all I can lean on, is just a little faith in our coach, a little faith in the org. That's really it. I can focus on what I can do individually as a player, but still need to round it out. So
That's totally fair.
This team was completely rebuilt by our coach, and also we, as far as I'm aware of, we built it around Argo because it was really just Argo and the coach starting. I used to be another team part of our org, and then because our team, we finished our last split and then we disbanded because most players just wanted to stop playing competitive.
Yeah.
So I was like looking for a new team. I'm like, hey, since he's making a new team, let me hop in.
I mean, it's fair. There's a lot of new teams and a lot of new players actually I've started seeing coming into the amateur scene here. And it's kind of been off the back of a couple of things. It seems that a lot more people are getting interested in playing amateur competitive league, and the other side is that Um, a good chunk of what the old guard was that was existing beforehand is just kind of walking away and moving on to different things. As is the case, right? The game's kind of getting older now, and I'm wondering where, for one, either of you exist in that field to begin with, or how you feel about like these new players that are coming in and what it's meaning for the scene, because there's a lot more people that are playing in amateur comp now.
Mhm. Uh, yeah, it was kind of a weird feeling looking through all the rosters at the start of the season and not really recognizing a lot of the names. Even with as big as this scene can seem, you're used to just seeing the same players over and over
Yes.
again. So it's kind of strange hopping in lobbies and not having anyone to banter with because
Yeah,
we know
or if
each
you
other.
start the banter, they're like, "What are these people talking about?"
I don't want to get rule checked for starting banter with someone I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely welcome this as a good sign because I always love like just being able to like play a game professionally and make money. Obviously, I'm not skilled enough for that, but like I always love
Yeah.
this idea. It's why I came to competitive scene like
Mhm.
6, 7 years ago. That's why I started looking into it and try to play a little bit more in some smaller league teams. Like now, like, but then the issue is like every once in a while I keep seeing people that I played against that guy, I scripted against him. Like
Yep.
I know people's name, but nowadays like I'm seeing a lot more newer names. I'm like, this is good. This thing is growing. I
It's
love that idea.
great. It's great. It's also like terrifying. People are coming for your jobs, you know? Like if you've been in the scene for a while, you're like, dude, all the new kids are coming in and like
Mhm.
they're moving on from the Fortnite and now they're picking up the League of Legends. I'm scared.
One of our coaches in our org is in high school, and
It's
it's wild.
it's crazy, right? And I mean, like, there's almost like that generational gap that's kind of like filling in
Mhm.
here too. And I guess like there's some people that are existing in the scene now that you're gonna act as mentors towards, and we're gonna have to see where the amateur league goes at this point, right?
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
there's a ton of other factors that are going to be included in there. If I'm going to throw in a piece of like personal opinion on here for sure, um, if I look at like even where, oh man, how would I put this? Even where Gold League and Plat League are now, if you were to put that in a vacuum onto like the skill level that exists and toss it back to like 2014 season 4, that's like diamond in terms of like game knowledge and like what people are doing now, right? It's like so
Yeah.
like the level up in a lot of these areas, like I mean it's an 8-year difference. Like the
Mhm.
understanding of the game has definitely grown for like the baseline is moving up, right? But
Mhm.
it's crazy to think that in some of these like mid-tier leagues, right? Like when you look at like the plat below leagues,
Mhm.
you can actually get like what is almost the equivalent of what would have looked like an LCS play back in the day. I find that like incredible. Like it's actually
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree on that.
Yeah.
No, I personally think that's a welcome sign because, like, right now because I started watching the LCS back in season 2.
Oh,
Really old,
like
but
the start of the LCS. Yeah, yeah.
because that's why I got into League. I had to switch over from Dota, which is what everyone was playing, and then some of my friends started like, "Oh, you should check out League. League could be interesting. This competitive scene is growing." I'm like,
Do you still
"Okay."
play Dota? Because I got a comment to
Um,
make if you still do, or at least follow Dota
Nowadays, I
2.
only play if someone asks me to play.
Oh, okay,
Otherwise, I'm not
okay.
touching
The comment that I would make at that point then is shout out to any Pangolier mains. You know, you my boys. Let me roly poly around and just hit every wall. And no one who doesn't play Dota here is gonna understand that if they listen to this.
it. Yeah.
That's the only comment I'll make on that one. No, I love Dota, but it's true. There's a ton of people that actually moved over from that scene and came into here and
Mhm.
just kind of
Mhm.
fell in love with the game. And I gotta wonder, like, what is bringing in people from like whatever game they're playing into League, or like what games are they coming from too? If you want to like, if you want to like just give out the information if you know it from whoever the high school player is. I'm not sure like who they're on the team. But like what game did they come from and where are they bringing in their experience from? It might bring in some interesting perspectives on how they play the game even.
Man, I wish I could tell you. I didn't even know he was a high schooler. I didn't know how good he was. I'm the one who brought him into the org.
Oh wow.
He was the mid laner for a team that I was a sub for, and then that team wound up needing a jungler. He saw how good I was at mid and said, "Oh, I'll just start playing jungle for this team. You can mid lane," and then just popped off every game at jungle.
That's wild.
And
I could not do that back in the day. I'll tell you what, right now. Like
he was one of those players that was accused. Everyone was just like, "Oh, he's elo sitting in the flat leagues," and then now that he's a coach and he doesn't have to keep his elo low enough, he's like a D2 already this season. So,
fair. But it's wild, right? Like they're just people are just popping up through the scene and they're just coming through, and it's good to see. It's good to see that like there's a bunch of people that are like coming to the game and just being able to excel at it. We're getting smarter.
I'm actually very surprised about the new people because like a lot of them, like I talked to a few from other teams I scrimmed with. Like some of them I talked to them just after the games. A lot of people are telling me League is the only game they played. They never played Dota. They heard of it like like a textbook.
Yeah.
They don't play Smite. Some of them played I forgot the name. It was a phone one. It's called, I think it was
Wild
like
Rift.
Or something.
Maybe
Oh,
or
it
Mobile
was a
Legends.
main
Mobile
tour.
Legends is the other one was pretty big.
Oh yeah, some of them are from that too.
Yeah.
But it's like
isn't that the one that got sued?
yeah,
Probably. I mean, like, it was a pretty blatant ripoff.
God,
Like,
I miss seeing Mobile Legends ads where it was just like
man.
just Ash like on the screen, and it's
yeah, right.
like, what are you doing, guys?
They got away with it for a while too, and I think they made a decent amount of money off of it. But I mean, the minute Riot said like, "Oh, you guys are making money off of it, let's make Wild Rift," it's all downhill from there. Honestly, that's another point a topic is like we might actually see like another like influx of players come in from Wild Rift. We're like, oh, this is like the mini game version of League of Legends. What happens when I play the real game on the computer, right? And they level up and they get to that PC experience, right? Because I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like in terms of like mobile games, it makes sense. Like it's more approachable and it is still a really good experience. But in terms of like even like communication standards, like being able to communicate in a MOBA, while you may have real like high numbers of people that are playing it, how often do you think those people are actually talking to each other? Like at all? Like how commonly is it going to be available for them to? And if they do, how bad is their mic quality? like just
I didn't even know. I didn't know that there were voice comms in.
I don't know if there is, but if there is, I'm scared. Like
all I was imagining was how mad do you need to be to type in a mobile mode?
Right. Oh man. That's a very good question. You tap into the lane and you start typing in on your phone and like as if a keyboard. Then you die and somebody tells you that you're inting, so you got to respond back to them when you walk back into the lane to die again while you're typing. Man, it's a wild Rift experience.
Wild Rift experience.
Oh man. Okay, let's get back to like the topic at hand with you guys though, because I'm sure we could go on that tangent for a while. But I do want to bring up how those games went that you guys played. And regardless of new players, old, and all of this, it was messy. It was very messy that led up into your victory. And there was... I'll skip going through each individual game. There's a lot to analyze in those ones. But in that final game, you guys had control over it. And there were a lot of moments where that control kind of just escaped you. And inevitably, after the back and forth that led into it, you let a Zeri get a pentakill. Lom definitely popped off in the comms on that one for the broadcast. That was the intensity they kind of brought up from there after you guys getting hit all through that. I think it was Scion kind of just ran through and knocked you guys up, and then Zeri just kind of swiped the floor with you guys. But then you still won it, so I mean, like, it doesn't matter. You won. Like, at the end of the day, for being blunt about it. But what would you say? What would you say is like the driving force that got you guys to the end, and what was the driving force that stopped you guys from being able to not bring it through cleaner or faster in a way that didn't lead to that back and forth?
So
inside and outside perspective as well too, because we got Argo from in game who's gonna like I'm telling you, man, my team was awful, right? And then Tofu can go from the outside in, and you can just say, yeah, the whole team is awful, right? Like I mean, like realistically, we could do that, but I want to hear it from the inside and the outside here, from Argo and Tofu.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say it's fortunately and unfortunately, Tofu is not going to have much input here because I have some comments on this.
Okay, let's go. I want to
so-
hear it.
Okay, so when I approach the competitive scene, I am a very competitive player. I like to take
Yeah.
these things seriously, like to just close these games out as cleanly as possible, close out the series as cleanly as possible. The sub, the sub that was brought in for top lane, great player. Not gonna say anything negative about him, like as a player or a person,
Mhm.
but he's known our coach for a long time, and used to play with him in the past, and they're crazy. So
Not gonna bring anything there,
something-
but he's a psychopath.
Yes,
You've seen
absolutely.
Psychopather? You haven't seen this guy. Like,
So the thing, and I mean, just this could just come off like sounding like cope, but we were in the driver's seat the entire time. We just threw the steering wheel out the window a few times.
how did you?
So game one.
Wait,
you
okay,
may-
hold on
you-
a second. Can we talk about how that metaphor functions in reality? How many steering wheels do you guys have? I only have one. Like,
it's on like a bungee cord. Like it just we pull it back in. every
oh,
once in a while. Yeah, just
Honestly, from me watching the third game, you guys had it in the very beginning. I was like, okay, this is an easy win. You guys just threw that steering wheel off away. The enemy team somehow slowly handed that back to you, and you threw it again.
Mhm.
And it was just them slowly pushing
So-
it back to you, and you throwing it away.
yeah. So let me walk you through the steps of cope and grief for me.
I don't want to use the
so-
steering wheel anymore. I want to throw it like you guys had the football and you're passing it back because I'm trying to
Mhm.
imagine being in a car and for some reason the driver is just like, "Ah, watch this, guys," and tosses it out the window, and everyone's like, "What? Like
no,
you're
that
swerving?"
is-
Like
That is exactly what it was. So game one, you may have noticed, was pretty clean.
yeah, it was pretty good.
We just kind
Yeah.
of we played what the analysts mentioned was a very hard to execute comp, super long range. Just if we screw up, we're dead because like we don't have.
By the way,
anybody
I
keeping them off of
loved that
us.
comp. Can I mention that? Like,
Yeah, I think it was a great comp.
I think it was
and-
hilarious, is what it was. Like, I was kind of doubting it, but then I was also thinking about it. I'm like, if you guys just properly zone with this comp here,
Mhm.
you guys will be like just chilling and like it'll be really funny to watch. And then I didn't get to watch it most of the time because of the audio issues. But we'll ignore those. But it was actually a really fun game to watch from the parts that I got to see in it.
Yeah, so we were pretty in control of that game, just kind of cruised through it. That was, I think, at least two of us went deathless. I'm pretty sure. I know I did, but I think our ADC may have as well. Or no, he did not. Sorry, I think he got first blooded.
What you mean one of the ADCs, right?
Yeah, one of the three.
Like I don't know who was the ADC at that point in the game, so
So then we moved to game 2,
Mhm.
and our top laner says, "Trey, I'm getting my my lethality sound game in this game," and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh boy, what's gonna happen now?
Okay. So
Then-
skipping past because we know how that ended up.
Oh,
right?
enemy
Yeah,
top walks
I
in-
just want to say
walks in
I
ward.
want to fast forward to one portion here.
Mhm.
Were you guys glad when they picked it away from you?
Yeah, actually.
You're like,
was-
oh man, I guess you can't go Scion this game. Damn.
So I
Oh.
was, but I trusted him to take it seriously for game 3.
Yeah.
Serious enough. Because he told us in champ select, like when we're loading in, he says, game 1, that's for us. Game 2, that's for the fans. And he said that, and I was just like, oh god, what have I signed up for? And it was for the fans. So then game 3, we start off. Things are going, from what I remember, things were going pretty well.
Mhm.
And then because things were going well, and because of the way that our comp functioned and who got ahead, it was pretty obvious like fights were going to continue. We were going to win fights because Jinx being fed, like even if Zeri's fed if we're positioning correctly, Jinx is going to clean up those fights.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
You guys have like a really good
But-
like a potential to like just ramp up within the fights, and the minute that you get that opportunity to, is you could clear house kind of, and it happened a few times. Yeah.
yeah. But man, our top laner, the sub, he super confident, super loud voice, and so he just took control. And he just wanted to kind of drag that game out, make go through every step of like, we're going to take the entire base, we're going to push all 3 lanes, like we're not going to group and just team fight with our massive gold advantage. We are going
Massive
to,
gold advantage and massive team fight comp.
yes, we are going to just take everything in this game. And we did. We took everything in that game. And took way too long
it
to
did
do it.
secure you guys a little bit, to give him some credit. Like, it did allow you guys to have the ability to come back if they did win team fights at the very least.
I don't know. I don't think it was even caught, but we aced them at a fight right before Dragon spawned. And death timers were like 45 seconds. I don't think broadcast caught it. I TP'd mid because I assumed I reset and TP'd mid because I assumed we were just gonna push and end the game. Because we had the time. Base is completely open.
Probably.
45-second timers.
Yeah.
Base is gone.
I would need to
no,
recall
we're
back
taking
into the game,
everything.
but at that kind of timing, especially depending on the state of the base, it definitely might be the case. In terms of outside of the possibilities of like what could have happened within there, though, and how the games went, the end result is all the same. You know, you guys were inevitable. You guys won the game. You guys managed to bring it all together, and now you get to eat the win in there, and you get your cake, right? The question that I can have from it, because there was those issues there, is what does Dread Zone Gaming Tartarus look like going forward? Like, what are the lessons that you guys are learning from this? Outside of you don't want to play with the top laner again, from the sounds of it. At least Argo doesn't. Tofu's probably like, yeah, put him in. Like, it's just like, then I can get in. Like, right? I guess it's just, yeah, what direction are you guys going to try to go for going from here? And do you have any like concrete plans that might be set up from the coach here going into this next week?
I think honestly just taking things a bit more standard, or a bit more standard for what the meta is right now, which is maybe a little bit different than standard has looked in the past, which is basically ADC supports, like picking Ashe every game, and just having these super long range engage comps that work. Like they're picked by every team in every region for a reason. And we were just, because of our roster swap rounds, we were just trying way too hard to make things have these crazy drafts where we're flexing everything around, but like that's not the play most of the time. So
no, there's definitely there's a difference in like the way that it's looked recently within the meta. If we're gonna make those comments there, I want Tofu to speak on this one for sure. But because Tofu is the observer here, and he gets to see a lot of the things that happen within the draft from an objective standpoint. And also from the sounds of it too, is having played the game for a while too, it's definitely something to speak about. But flex picks in like there's a lot of them now in the game, but it almost seems that like only having like a single flex pick seems to actually matter as much as having like the multitude of them. It almost seems like if you're going to be picking up a flex pick, it's to be able to pivot into certain comps that your team is comfortable playing in the first place. And outside of that, that's where like everything else is just a specific pick for what you're trying to accomplish. And what like ADC is like the flavor of the month, right? As like the changes kind of came through, and having that kind of like long range engage, like you said, it's like anything that's going to have like global potential is always going to be great in the game. But my take on it recently has been like looking at the game, looking at all the teams have been playing. Really, it's been finding what works for them, especially when we're at the like plat and below league, and then kind of maneuvering within there. Considering that you're looking at like playing more standard to the meta, and I do believe there was a mention as well too of you. There's definitely a watch to see what people are playing. Like there is a good amount of like scouting effort into seeing what people are playing within your group. how are you guys looking at the rest of the league and how these other teams play? And is there anybody that's intriguing to you?
Well, I'll just start with the thing about regarding the meta, with the flex picks. Honestly, right now, I feel like flex picks are what team like the team. Let's say one team have a really good someone that's really good at playing Mordekaiser, whether it be that be jungle or top, right?
Yeah.
You'll always try to first pick the Mordekaiser, so then they could flex it. They'll put on the person that's the strongest on it, right?
Mhm.
But let's say that's a shitty matchup for him, or there's something else that would just benefit the whole team more. Then they flex that champion over to someone else, so he could pick a better counter later on. And I feel like that's basically how like flex is being used right now, like with exception of Malphite, which is just kind of
Yeah, just pick him. Like, just like, if he's available, pick him. There's no reason not to. I'm pretty sure the stats in the league, the last time I looked at them, was like Maokai is the highest picked champion right now in the entire league. And it's like Ornn is up there too, which is kind of a weird one to me because I don't feel like he's crazy strong. Like I get him, like in amateur comp at the very least, right? Like it makes sense. Like he's relatively easy to just shove in a lane, and then you have like your team just gets better later. But yeah.
Ornn's a really good neutralizer because like they could try to pick a really hard like carry top, but it's like, all right, I'm Ornn, I have damage, I have CC. I don't care if I'm behind by 20, 30 CS. Like my whole kit function even without me having too much item.
Oh, true. I'm just saying that it's very unique to see how like Ornn is like a staple comp pick here, but like you don't see him too often in comp, like at the highest levels right now. It's not really their priority, but it's cool. It's cool. It's just the whole defining the meta within the separate leagues that exist at the lower levels. There's when you play gold platinum, I'm telling anything's on the table, man. Like I would like, I mean, if I see a Yumi mid, like he's trolling, of course. Like I don't think you can justify that one. That one's just kind of a given. But I wouldn't be surprised to just see somebody try to pull out the Taric E at some point, even like this side, right? So, like, I think you can do a lot of things at this level of play as long as you have the right like communication coordination. But Argo, what's your take on meta within here too?
So for me, I also kind of leading into the question that you asked about, are there any teams that look interesting from what they're doing? For what I'm looking at, I'm gonna be real. The mid lane pool within our league doesn't look crazy. It doesn't look like it's nothing.
Doesn't
that
look
really
as diverse as it should be with what some people are playing. At
and,
least in Group B. Group A looks like it's got some interesting stuff, but yeah.
And what I've noticed is a lot of the mid laners are either off-rolled or they are like split role players.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads to them only really playing standard stuff mid.
Are you disappointed by that? I'm curious.
Yeah,
I feel like when you get into this, you're like, I want to see some pull something crazy going through.
Yeah,
right? Like, I want to challenge, right? But then you're like, oh, same matchup every game, right? Like it's, oh yeah, here's Syndra. Oh, here's Azir.
Yeah.
Oh, this next week, oh, here's Aurelion Sol every game that it's not banned. Like, right?
You can kind of see it in the bans that people have against us because they don't ban the things that I play that are meta or that are really good. They ban the things that I play that are weird.
Yeah.
Like I played Jace last week, and that got taken away from me in the first rotation, both games this week, because mid laners and plat don't know how to play against that.
No, they don't. They really don't.
Like,
I'm a Jace mid player myself. Like it's it can be really oppressive, and like your pop off moments that you have when you can like go within those all in timing windows are like they swing the game, and there's a lot of things that champion can do, which is also why I believe like it's just like the stuff that you can pull out in this league. Just like if nobody knows how to play against it for one, or if nobody knows how to coordinate with it with their entire team, there's a lot more that's on the table. But nobody, really, nobody. You don't think any other team has anything that's like offering some crazy stuff?
All I'm really looking at is mid lanes.
Yeah, okay.
I don't really look too far beyond that until it comes to like match week.
Yeah.
Especially with how fast the meta can change.
It's true too. But everybody's got like I guess it's a problem too, as you said. Like there's a lot of people that are like off rolled, right? Everybody's got like their pocket pick, and with this being in week 3 too, a lot of teams don't really want to showcase like some of their stronger stuff right now, right? It's just, a lot of it's going to be testing the waters. So I guess we'll really have to see like what comes out. I'm waiting. I'll give you a bone on this one here. If any team, like if any mid laner on this who's like multi-rolling, because a lot of them are like top mid players. If Aurelion Sol comes onto the table and you want to just put him in the dirt, right? You want to put the Star Dragon into the ground. Pick Aurelia against him, and he's going to hate his life. Like if I'm being flat about it, like it's just.
I'm a Zed and Gray's main. Like those are.
Oh, you're gonna love the Zed matchup too. Yeah. There's like a lot of as a with Aurelion Sol coming on the table. If you wanted to leave it open and just leave it up for the enemy to play, like sure, like your team's going to have issues maybe dealing with it. If you don't end up shutting it down, but I mean like assassins destroy that champion.
Yeah, they do.
So it's like I'm curious to see the teams that like bring it out and if it just doesn't work out for them because I definitely think it's strong, especially like when it was buggy, it was like super strong. But I mean like that's a given. But I do think that it has very clear weaknesses that can be exploited as long as the right picks are like tossed into that realm in the first place. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that front. With that last portion, so just in keeping the conversation about the teams, next week's games have actually been determined on who's going to be playing for the stream. And it is, to my knowledge, going to be Basement Dwellers, and I think it's against Elysium Blaze, actually. I need to confirm that. But yeah, like if we're dealing with those teams going against each other, if you have looked into them on both those sides, what are your thoughts there?
Ooh. This is another.
Yeah, I hadn't brought this up yet, so
yeah. Hard basis for me because like Basement Dweller, their top laner, I played against him very often in previous leagues because I like that's one name that's just like super control all the elite. Like I remember that guy's name. Like that name stuck with me the whole time. So every single time I see him, I'm like, I know this guy. I played against him. Like
that's either a good thing or a bad thing. Like this could be like an Inting Scion kind of thing right now, and I'm not too sure if it's the case at the moment. So.
It varies because there's times where our team just completely destroys his team, but there's times where his team completely destroys ours. So it's like kind of varies. I don't know how to say because like I love fighting him actually a lot because like sometimes I could clap him, but then sometimes he will just clap me just because I did one small mistake. It's like, bro.
So you're saying watch out for the top laner from Basement Dwellers then?
He's a fairly solid player. Like sometimes, like I remember one game I made. I was playing Ornn, and I made one mistake because I wasted my E by going forward, and then he just completely shut me down. I'm not sure if he's with a different team now, but like he just completely shut me down. Jungle constantly came top. I was out of the game until like 20 minutes. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well that's a bold statement on that front there. Argo, you have any comments on Elysium?
On Elysium,
their records are actually like relatively the same.
Yeah,
Elysium
they're
just has
the same.
Yeah, it's just the game record on Elysium Blaze. They have one more loss. They technically have a little bit more experience, at least within the league, for the games that they have played. But I mean, like realistically, it's they're still 2-1 each on there too. There's actually the 3-way tie right now for second, essentially, at least from the overall record side.
Yeah.
So everything's going to kind of start to filter out from here to see where people are. I usually say like midway through the season, you really start to see the trends that are being put up by teams and like how they're going to look to improve and all of this. With EDE, emotional damage energy, sitting at the top right now. I think that's if I'm not mistaken, that's Masho on there, right? The double lift / Dardoch of Conqueror. if I could give him any title, it would be that. But yeah, they're sitting like they're lofty on their position there for sure, and I think it'll be interesting to see how everything starts to kind of develop at this point now with everything, because at the end of the day, we're definitely seeing how it's all starting to build, but. With that 3-way tie there, Elysium and Basement Dwellers being there, it should be an interesting match to see how that's going to pan out for at least who's going to be second place. And yeah, like any comments, even on their mid laner, because you basically said all their mid laners are basics across your group. Nobody's playing anything fun. Please don't ban my Jace. I want to kill you with Jace. Like you are having no fun, and you want a new top laner. That's what I'm understanding so far.
I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. So for Elysium Blaze, I mean, that's one of those teams that I don't recognize any of these players, so I don't really have anything to base it on from that. And then 2-1 at this point in the season, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. It's like they could be the best team in the league, they could be middle of the pack. It's really hard to say. Their mid laner looks pretty just standard mage player with like some standouts, but they're champions that
nothing to call home about, basically.
Yeah,
say
it's
like, Mom, I'm worried about this guy on this team. Like,
yeah. The Fizz is actually interesting.
That would be a cool one to see.
Bring out. Yeah.
I don't think it's been a long time since I've seen Fizz in like any comp league. Actually, if I'm being honest, even like I don't think I've seen pro play Fizz in. Holy shit! Wait.
Time it was brought out was probably when Tank Fizz was a thing.
Oh man, that was a fun time.
That was.
I loved that meta. Top laners loved that meta. I know that much.
I was a top laner at the time.
Oh yeah. Guess who's only ever wanted to ever just only play mid and hated when those metas come into play. Tank Echo, that was another fun one. Oh boy, how exciting. If I see a Tank Fizz, I'm closing the broadcast. And the Fizz has brought Heartsteel. Stream ended. Done. I'm not dealing with this.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, exactly. Technical difficulties. I'm walking out of the room. I'm actually done. Oh man. But yeah, so if that's the case, I guess not too much of a read on them. But do you guys have, at the very least, because it sounds like there's more info on knowledge on the basement dwellers. I don't know what their matchups were leading into this. Not too much prep on pulling that info up. But I would say that if you had a prediction that has absolutely no basis in the reality of like actually making an accurate prediction at all right now, because I mean, there's no research. It sounds like there's no info. Who you predicting? Who's winning it? Basement Dwellers or Elysium? Like,
let's. I think
arbitrary reasons can be completely included in there. By the way, I'm throwing that out there. I'm voting for Basement Dwellers because they're probably in there pretty often and they're practicing a lot.
For me, I can't say much about the team because I don't know the rest of the team. I only focus mostly on the top laners, right? For me, the top laner for like I think the control because I remember doing research on the opponent, which is Nick Hall, I believe, right?
Yeah.
He plays, as far as I'm aware of, he plays only 2 champions, Jace and Jax. It's like as long as Control All Elite has an answer to one that champion, ban the other one out, I think he should just be able to dominate top and then be the solid tank for his team.
Okay, that's a prediction right there. That's a statement. You better stand behind those words, Tofu.
I'll be honest. Anyone who can have a 63% win rate on 27 Jace games can probably play a decent chunk of the roster top lane.
That's true too, though. Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, because I mean, like at least in like aggro top laners, I feel like aggro top lane, you're gonna understand how to play with aggro at least properly. Because Jace is not an easy champion to play either.
Mostly some kind of bruisers or even just like straight up fighters.
Or you just play Vayne top every game. You play Vayne, Quinn, and Jace, and everyone hates you for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, no, I hated our sub top for that. Just for this game, I saw it. I didn't even want to watch that game.
Man, what is this? What is this interview right now? Is like, am I asking you how your team is doing, or is this just, man, I hate our sub top laner? That's all that I've heard from both of you guys. Like, he's off of the sub list after this from this. Not even because you guys are removing him off, because he's just gonna be like watching, like, wow, screw you guys. Like, okay, you know what? I'll sympathize with this sub top laner. Why have I not gotten a name for the sub top laner? What is the summoner name here?
TJ.
TK? Okay. TK?
Yeah.
I'm throwing this out there right now. Was it TK or was it TJ? It was TJ Lanier.
TJ, it's TJ. Yeah,
TJ. You don't even know his name. I know his name. What the heck is this? I'm throwing this out there.
I said TJ. I said TJ.
I thought you said TK. Whatever. We'll leave it like that. We'll leave it at that. TJ, you know what? Mad respect for the inting Scion that maybe it was intentional that you were inting just to make the series interesting, because I will tell you what, it definitely made it interesting. I will say confidently that behind the scenes where you couldn't see the cameras, Lom and Crims were constantly facepalming. And that was a form of entertainment, at the very least to me, because it was funny. And you know what? Funny is fun. So therefore, you are a fun top laner, and I hope you find a team that appreciates you, because man, these guys don't.
Well, I want to add something here.
Okay.
Vayne top is the equivalent of seeing a Teemo top. No top laners like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll throw this out there as a counter argument. Vayne top though, like, right, that makes sense most of the time. If I see a Teemo top, right, I'm excited more than I am at seeing a Vayne top, because Vayne top is just, I hate it. Teemo top is like, it's going to be awful, or I'm seeing some really spicy strategy that justifies them picking Teemo, or there's no reason for the game to be played in the first place, and for some reason Teemo is picked because they say this game doesn't matter, and we're just going to pick it here and lose, but the other teams probably do the same thing anyways, and it's just a shit show. More likely the last one, but I have faith in the Teemo top strategy coming out sometime in Conqueror. Somebody bring that in, please. Please. I really want to see it. I want to see somebody just step on a Teemo shroom and just get half health, and then like just Caitlyn like just ults across the map and they're dead, and they're like full lethality Caitlyn, and Collector pops off, and then that's the highlight of the game, and then that team loses. I do want to say, I do want to close out the interviews. It's been a blast talking to you guys so far. But what's that? Sorry.
I said it's been great.
I'm glad. It was very quickly pieced together. We're gonna have we're gonna try to do one of these every week for each league, as long as we can get the timing proper. System's actually gonna be set in place. I'm hopefully gonna get Sems. Shout out to Sems. To do an announcement for how these are going to work going forward, but we want to just do everything we can here over at Titan to make sure that you guys got some stuff to watch and listen to. I don't know, maybe you want to listen to this as a podcast in your car, so you can listen to Argo and Tofu just shit talk TJ Lanier.
I was about to say, just have to, TJ, please just download this and listen to it.
Wow, this is just like advanced cyberbullying. Like, this is podcast cyberbullying at this point. Like, hey, TJ, you should listen to this podcast. We have some comments to say. Hope you take them to heart. Like, that's messed up, man. Come on. I'm sure the man has a family, and if not, like, you're assaulting him, and his family's concerned. So either way, at Titan, we're trying to do some stuff for you, and we're gonna try to get a process set up for you guys to have this all ready for you here. And I would like to just give everyone a platform. If you win a game, this is your reward for sure. You guys get to deal with a conversation with some of us over in the staff here for the broadcast, and apparently shit talk your teammates. Like, I don't know. That's what these guys are doing.
I have to shit talk TJ, because I have to make sure that Tofu knows where my allegiances lie. It's with the real top laner.
So in other words, like, if you thought that it was tough to beat Dreadzone last week, just wait until they have a real top laner. Tofu's coming for you. He's changing his name to Taco, and he will destroy you. He will be putting all of the hot sauce, all of the sour cream, and he will just be consuming you. That is a reference that no one's going to get, because this was before broadcast that we established some weird taco-related content. Either way, closing statements from either of you guys. Anybody to shout out? I got my shout outs for sure, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. I already know you're going to say TJ. You already said that once. If you want to say it again, by all means. But anybody to call out on that side, and on your team or otherwise. Statements to make, closing statements. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to all of our 12 subs that are listed on our roster at the moment.
We're only allowed like 5 subs.
And I mean, I mean, y'all are gonna have to expand that subsection on the rosters just for our team.
Tell it to Sims and see what his response is.
I mean, shout out to my coach. This is like, God, 4th split that I've played with this guy. I think always does well by me. And I just want to make sure that next time you have us in for an interview, we have both players that didn't play in the match that week.
That'll be great.
Spicy.
I am not opposed to that. I think it'd be hilarious. I think it'd be really good to just hear the saltiness of like, yeah, so we didn't get to play this week. But let me tell you what. If I would have been in, I would not have done what this guy's. I would have played a more non-meta pick in the mid lane, and Argo would have been happy with me. Tofu, what you got to say?
One day you'll see a Teemo top. One day.
Oh, that's a comment there. It better be on broadcast. You guys better make the playoffs and pull it out, and if not, then spam somebody to carry on the torch. Because that statement needs to exist. All right.
As the coach allows me, I'll do it one day.
That's what I hope. Please make my dreams reality in that one. I really want to see it. Listen, if you are willing to play it, I've got a strategy that I'll toss out on the table. You just got to hit me up so that nobody bans this out if they see the Teemo picked. There's a complex machination that exists in order to facilitate it, and I am willing to sell that strategy for free as long as you promise me you'll bring it on the broadcast. I'm just saying. I've already given strategies to crab wranglers, and they're going to be pulling out some stuff on their own time, okay? Just wait until you see what they bring out. And I gave them that strategy. And shout out to Dark, who didn't get to have his interview showcased last time because of not me, I swear. But we'll hopefully see some crazy stuff. Tofu, who you shouting out? Come on, we got to hear some names.
Honestly, as much as I shit on TJ, thank him for actually subbing in for me because I couldn't make it. It was 1 or 2 days before the match, and I just had to tell my team I couldn't make it. So thank you for actually showing up.
Anybody else? Or
thank you for my manager. Because I had the team manager because she was the one who actually helped me find a sub for the team. So.
And that's the greatest part. Shout out to all you, all the staff that exist behind the scenes that don't get any sort of recognition outside on the end of a podcast-styled interview where your team shit talks your sub-top laner because that's the most that a lot of us get over on staff. Staff appreciation. So that's where I really want to go to. Shout out to the Conqueror League casters who gave a banger performance that you will get to see in this upcoming week. This Wednesday, Titan Esports on a Wednesday, Lam and Crims are going to be popping off again to discuss that matchup with Elysium Blaze and Basement Dwellers in the battle to determine who's going to be second. And that's really where we're sitting at now. We're sitting at halfway through going into there, and you're going to have to take a look at the standings to see how Dreadzone Gaming Tartarus is going to do as well, because they're up and coming. They're fighting. They're gunning for that spot. Midway through, anything can still happen. So let's see how the climb goes, and we'll see you guys next time. Just want to say goodbye from all of us here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.